Okie doke. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to talk. No special effects or cuts, edits, motion graphics, none of that. This is just straight vlogging, and it's going to be a doozy. And so I'm warning you, if you're especially sensitive to familial matters or those regarding suicide or death, then perhaps it's best you click away. But if not, and you care to hear about one individual's story through this crazy wild world of ours in 2021, amongst 8 billion other stories on this planet of life that accrued in 2021, whether those that are infants or disabled or elderly, we're all life. And we're all experiencing this, and we all have doubts and fears and expectations and hopes for the future, which are now squashed by abrupt climate change. But let's go on for the sake of the argument. So I'm just going to start off with the beginning of the year. I'm going to run right through it. But to preface where 2021 began, I just reviewed some of my videos back then, and they're kind of cringy. I'm surprised I got as many views as I did. I was very loud and obnoxious, kind of in front of the camera. I was so much less chill than I am now. I think that comes with experience. I'm much more comfortable in front of the camera, and vlogging serves as like a live journal and an informational, it's a social media type deal to be in touch with people. It could serve a whole bunch of uses, but I was using it primarily, and still using it primarily for personal and informational uses. So I began the year in 2021 in a motel, in like a 1940s motel in Hot Springs, Arkansas, because the previous month in December 2020, I had just left Dallas, Texas, a sprawling suburban/city metropolitan area, millions of people. It was becoming very obnoxious, especially after COVID hit and so many places closed down. The city just transformed. I didn't recognize it anymore. With all the new gentrification, all the new buildings they made, and all the new people coming in, influx from so many different cities, it wasn't right anymore. And by that point, by how many years I've spent there, I'd conquered the city. I felt it was time to move on. I'd worked as a lighting production assistant, and I got to tour all the hotels and big banquet halls and, for big events. And then I've just worked every kind of job. I've just been up and down the city. I've stomped it. I stomped it to dust. And I was like, there's nothing left here but shallow materialism. And if you're from Dallas, you know what I'm talking about. It's all just shopping, eating, and, after a while, there's no outdoors really. There's no nature. It's all flatland. It's very, very metropolitan. And it was very, very bad for my health. I mean, I was living in a tiny little apartment for over $700 a month with loud, just gunshots at night, just crazy. It was just, you need $72,000 just to live comfortably, like to have a decent apartment in a safe area. You need to make $72,000 a year. So I don't want to lament on that much further, but the point was clear that I needed to GTFO, and I'm glad I did. Okay, overall, when I take a retrospective look, this place is so much better than the grinding Mad Max atmosphere of crazy city. Any cities like this, Los Angeles, Miami, I don't care where you are, Paris, wherever you are, they're a technology that is very poor for your health, from the brake dust to sound pollution, light pollution, getting into accidents. It's unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary. So I left. I just bailed, and I didn't have much money. I think I only had like $2,000 or $3,000 at most. And all of that was sucked away from a motel because I overshot. This is what happens when you try to correct course or you learn a new skill. You overshoot drastically. Like, you make big mistakes at first, and then you course correct, just like this channel. So I chose Hot Springs, Arkansas. And the only reason I chose that is because I'd been there twice. It's about a couple hours away. It's known for Bill Clinton was born there, went to school there. It's known for its like hot springs, the bathhouse row. I would take vacations there, and so I was like, man, this is a place. If shit hit the fan, then I would come here first to try to see if I could like make it. And a lot of mobsters live there. Like it might have been cool in the 20s, but now it's like no, it's all decrepit and broken down. A geriatric retirement community. It's sad, but and there was no housing situation. There was like no apartments. All the apartments were taken and quickly sought after. There was homeless people everywhere. And I was working this whole time. This whole time I've been doing Grubhub and DoorDash for the past like 3 or 4 years. Really, I've been doing gig economy. And in Dallas, I was doing Uber and Lyft. But I think I got kicked from those. Because when you have like 1,000 strangers in your car, there's bound to be a couple assholes that will pick shit with you. And that will report you, and you'll get in trouble for it. So that happened. And you know I'm not taking shit. So I was in Hot Springs in a motel, paying this lady like $300 or $400 a week. Working every day, trying to find an apartment, crying, and I was having, at first, a conversation with my mother again. And I had not spoken to her in years because she married this ex-military guy. If you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, if you don't discriminate, if you don't stand up, protest, do something, you'll fall for anything. You'll fall for any macho bullshit, conservative, right-wing, dog shit crap that will appeal to your senses. That's what people do, who don't really sit and think critically. Thinking critically, that's a skill. You should learn it. And so she married this a-hole that got up in my face, because he accused me of taking a pain medication for a spinal injury, which I don't even know what it is. Like, the dude he's a Virgo, whack job. She's a Sagittarius. And so they divorced. They moved off to Colorado, and then I get a message in, like, February or something, January, that they divorced. I hadn't talked to either of them months because I hated him. And, like, I hated. I was done. I wrote him, like, he was done. If you're in my book, you're in my book, or you're in the off part of the book. There's a line through your name. I don't deal with you. Most people have this little book of theirs, the little black book. So she sends me an email and is like, we divorced, and I've had mental health problems for so long, and I was just so fed up with her shit by this point. You had this fucking long to get it together. She would slap me when I was stoned as a teenager. She would like bust in my room when I was just trying to perform arts and crafts. Like I was trying to play bass, and she like made a huge scene and like beat down the door when I was just trying to go jam with my friends. There's so many situations where she was just completely fucking unnecessary, out of control. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. My brother would say, "Oh, we had a mixed blessing growing up." Like, no, I don't fucking settle. I don't settle. Okay, I expect the best. I expected parents who like loved and cherished and encouraged my creative endeavors all the time, sent me to Juilliard, really like Miles Davis. Even he went and he just like quit, or just left the college. I don't even know if he graduated. And he had well-off parents. I'm not settling. I expect the best because I treat people like the best. I will treat you like the best until you act like swine. And I'll treat you like a pig. Because you are. And so she tries to get back in touch with me. And at this point, I'm fed up. I don't accept her. I don't accept what she stands for. Conservatism, that the fact that she voted for Trump, all of it. Just like and she had made this pact against me that because I had left off with she's a controlling, borderline personality, histrionic mother. One of those that like don't leave me. No, you have to stay with me. I'm not going to let you go. Just really control. Like, that's not healthy. It's not fucking healthy. And she had an awful mother. And so that shit always rolls down, man. Generational trauma rolls down. And you have to break it. You have to stop it, redefine yourself, jump into the fire, kill yourself to be reborn. That's what you got to go through, that painful process. And that's creatively speaking, personally, everything. It's your whole thing. And so she, when I left off with my first wife, as we moved to Washington State, she made this point. She used that as ammunition. Oh, you left off with your wife, so I thought, oh, you were gone, like, oh, goodbye, can't take care of you. Like, no, I never said. When was that a deal? I always have a pact with people to be friendly. If your mother or not, and as you grow up, it's like your duty as a parent is to be a friend, not a parent anymore. And you couldn't be a friend. You're really not that cool. You're not that interesting. That doesn't matter. I mean, look, it was unhealthy. It was a toxic and unhealthy relationship, being misunderstood both ways. It's just not worth it. It wasn't worth it. I'm done. She blackmailed me. Oh, I gave you so much when you were a teenager with emotions, blackmailed me financially, and would cut me off. Every time I kept trying to talk to her, every time I was like trying to explain myself, she would cut me off and yell. Oh, she would talk over me and blackmail me with emotions and financial help. Just fucking despicable, awful. And so I was like, no, I'm done with that. She was like, oh, well, maybe I was thinking about, like, because she's into road trips now, coming to visit you on my way up. And I said yes at first, and then I thought about it, and I was like, no, you know what? You just go on your way. Because I remember recently, before that, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. And I was in Washington State. I was going to visit her in Colorado, not her husband at that time. This was like 2 years ago. And she said no to me. She was like, no, you can keep going. Go to California. I'm sorry, you reject, like, what kind of fucking what kind of mother rejects the presence of their own son? A piece of shit mother. That's who. And so and I don't care how nurturing they were in the beginning. Look, Adolf Hitler had a girlfriend, okay? Everyone is capable of, like, nurturing behavior. So, especially if it's their own kin, up to a limit. So she offered to visit me. I was like, no. So I cut that chapter off. I was like, I'm done. And I'm really unimpressed by the way you handled motherhood in totality. And I'll get on with my other sibling here in a moment. So I'm in this motel. I'm paying, ass loads of money. I can't find an apartment. I'm feeling really depressed and beaten down. It's just, it's my birth. Oh, and by the time I actually get into another rental situation with this crazy lady. It was the only thing available. It was like $400 or $500 a month, way cheaper than a week. And she would, like, make weird noises to her dog and, like, not healthy noises, and was like a sex worker at night. She was 64 and would, like, move my stuff around in the kitchen. Like, it was awful. I was not sleeping maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. And I was in touch with somebody by this point, with a person who I was going to start a community with. And I gave him references, and we were talking good. Everything was fine. And I was going to move in with him and his partner in Florida on this big piece of land. And we were going to sell the land and go buy another piece of land, later this year or next year. He was coaxing, he was helping me, like, get through it. He was talking to me. But on my fucking birthday, I'm in a miserable situation. I am, like, trying to start a new path for myself, trying to start a new life away from the city. I let my brother know that, like, previously in Dallas in 2020, I reached out to him after not talking for years. And there's a reason I left behind. He took the worst qualities from my parents and replicated them, because that's what we do as children. You either replicate the behavior that you see, the narcissistic pushing off, stonewalling. That's the kind of shit my dad would do. Like, I'm not listening, whatever, even though what you're saying is completely valid and true, and it's always true because it's your feelings. And he was coddled and spoiled. I was, like, kind of pushed off to the side. He just turned out, if we can make a comparison, I turned out like Thor, and he turned out like a Catholic schoolboy. A domesticated house cat. Just totally unimpressive. Loaded down with school debt, sadly, behind a picket fence with not controlling, but, a wife that's, like, basically runs him. He does little anime drawings, little, like, bubblegum cartoon drawings. It's the end of the fucking world, okay? We have abrupt climate change, like in our face. Thousands of people are dying from pollution every day. The world that we're headed into, and you're sitting behind a picket fence drawing bubblegum anime art. No, I refuse to accept that. Not only that, but I reached out, and he would stonewall me, and I was fed up with it. I was fed up with his behavior years ago. And he would gaslight me. This is what narcissists do. Also, Sagittarius would gaslight me. Oh, you're crazy. You're the crazy one, Reagan. Meanwhile, I'm a caregiver for developmentally disabled. I'm volunteering, giving to the public, vlogging. I'm living life to the maximum, okay? And with other people, in my 20s. And so I offered to, I'll try to wrap up family here, but it was a big thing in 2021. It was realization what kind of people these are. I'd offered to come. It was my last chance in Dallas before the pandemic struck, right before it struck, but before we went to community spread and we went into lockdown. I was like, dude, okay, you know what? We should get together. And I was waiting for him. He's the older brother to make the call. Hey, let's meet at a park. Let's go here. Nothing. He let my hand get clammy. He just refused to fucking do with me. And probably because he was hurt because I cut him off years ago. He was still hurt from that, because he's a fucking sissy. He's a pussy. I would beat his ass now. I can now, being the younger brother, as grown-ups. The tables have turned, and I'm glad. He'd push me, bully me as a child. Again, and my mom would be like, oh, why don't you talk to Walter? Well, I did, and he refused to fucking see me. The proof is in the pudding. He had all that time. He had that time when I was talking to him, and the pandemic struck, went into lockdown. Okay, we can't see each other. Wasn't a vaccine yet. And so I'm flustered by this in 2020. So 2021 comes, and I'm like, and I was writing him a bunch of emails, and I'm just like, you know what? You just do you realize who the fuck you are? Do you even know who you are? And then on my birthday, I'm in a motel. I'm in this shitty living situation. He emails me, and he's like, you need help and counseling and go find a community, blah blah blah. Call me crazy on my birthday. And I'm like, and I write him back a couple emails and a voicemail, and I say, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm in this situation. I'm trying to make a new life for myself. Do you know the life that I've lived? Do you know all the fucking struggles and shit I've been through in a broken ass economy with no support from father or anybody? I had help along the way. And on my birthday, I get this message, and I'm just after this point, my birthday, my mother and my brother are fucking trash. Sagittarius, they're not narcissistic necessarily in a physical sense, but in an emotional sense, they got some serious issues. I have my anxiety. I realize that. But these are not the fucking type of people you want to be at the end of the world with. Just awful, toxic people. And that's why he sits alone in a room and daddles on his little drawings, little things. Like that, the end of the world is literally coming, and you're in a fucking room making little anime drawings. No, I refuse. I refuse to accept that. I know the saying, you can't love another until you love yourself. No, there's a point where you're like, nah, I just don't accept certain people. I don't accept them. And so I got those chapters done with. 2021 was a big deal in that regard. That was like, that chapter is closed. Clearly, this is a new life for myself. I'm setting up a new paradigm for myself. And it's a little uneasy at first, a little lonely, but it wasn't that for that long. I kept going. And so, let me take a sip of chai. I'm getting a little stuffy. Okay, had to center myself a little bit, get back to events. So, yeah, in 2020, I had been basically left out a cold, clammy hand, which perhaps I did to him for years, but I tried to make retribution for that and make up for lost time, and he didn't even accept that, so whatever. And then he told me I was crazy on my birthday. It's like, no, get fucking real. I know my story. I know what I've been through, what I've done, whatever. So that lady doesn't work out, and then I find another room with this seemingly nice lady, another 64-year-old lady who has a room and, a separate bathroom. And she ends up being totally controlling and crazy too. Like, all these are misads, and again, it's just an elderly town. It wasn't working out, but I had gotten this hint that, and I'd also been in touch with Audrey by this point, so she'd been kind of helping me along too. We started to kind of build a relationship. So I had heard and saw ads about Northwest Arkansas, giving money to people to come move here and like grow the economy or whatever. And so I applied, but I didn't get in. But I knew like I could transfer anywhere with Grubhub and DoorDash, provided that I get a, insurance policy wherever I move, and I just do all the basic paperwork. So fine. So I did that, and so I heard good things online and everywhere about like this being kind of like a booming, you know, compared to the rest of Arkansas. Like Little Rock is more city, more gentrified, but a lot of Arkansas is like hillbilly trash. And when I got here, more people I talked to said, yeah, Northwest Arkansas is the only good place to live. It's very modernized, and everyone's very friendly and up to date, kind of very liberal too. It's like half liberal, half kind of remnants of like this conservative redneckism because of the area, but it's like doable. It's it's friendly. And so I just packed it up again and moved, and I found an apartment. I took over a lease with this girl. It's like 19 or 20. She was a graphics design student. Cute girl. Nice girl, but I kind of got onto her about the climate emergency because I was really on that quagmire. I was like, kind of on this wrath. Like if you were younger, I was like, what are you doing? Like why aren't you like protesting at the White House? Like I was just really unreasonable expectations. I wasn't thinking about like, to me, of course, that's the only thing that matters. But that's besides the point. I took over the lease from her, got into this apartment. I could hear the neighbors having sex. The person above me stomped at night, all the time, in the morning. And the garbage truck still comes every morning at like 2 a.m. Just like, it was just a temporary situation. I was only there for a couple months. But I kept vlogging and making content. And then I joined Nature Bats Last, a Facebook group dedicated to talking about the extinction of the human race. And I later left the group because I found it kind of be too culty and like, every time you get into group dynamics, like there's that echo chamber and like there's just kind of like an in thing going on, and either you're out or you're in. And I made friends with Jeffrey, Audrey, who were in it, and David. And David reached out to me after one of my videos. My Jordan Peterson says, you should have kids. And I was like, no. And I made a video, and David reached out to me and was like, dude, I saw that content. And he's in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I was like, he's like, I saw you live here. Do you live here? And like, I want to befriend you. And I was like, wow. I mean, and after the experiences that I just had, anybody that is willing to come up to you and wants to spend time with your presence, like, hell yeah, I accept them. That is a blessing and a gift. I don't understand most people just like ignore text messages or ghost people, without giving them explanation or reason, especially. I've ghosted, but I usually tell people like, I gotta go, or I'm not impressed with your behavior. But that's besides the point. He befriended me. He's, this ex-martial artist, ex-pharmacist, married, has a daughter, like, has a house, just extreme kind of like badass person. Very crazy intelligent. One of like the top students in his class, like self-made man, worked, paid off, his probably $100,000 of college debt, to get his degree, like high strung, high energy, talks fast, but I can keep up. Like his energy, I vibe with, and first and foremost, we agree. We know everything the same about the environment and the art. What's happening with our climate. So, that was one blessing that came out of 2021 was I made a really good friend that's twice my age. Again, I don't know what it is about 64-year-olds, people that are twice my age. I think it's born year the not monkey, not rat. Is it monkey? I don't know. So I hang out with him. We, smoke up and talk about it, talk for hours. And I'm working this entire time, lunch and dinner every day, nonstop. I don't think I only took like 3 or 4 days off this year, maybe 5 or 6 tops. And Jeffrey and I are talking from Nature Bats Last. He's about 65. No, he's like 62, 56, something like that. He's like on the edge of boomer. He's in New York, and he actually talked about, by this point, Mike. I'd still been talking to Mike. I've still been talking to someone in Florida. There's another Mike. But Jeffrey and I had been talking, and he wanted me to come up and live with him in the Northeast, like Ithaca or New York or something, get an apartment together and, start living, getting ready for the collapse. But then he went to go look at some houses, and then next thing I know, somebody tells me he committed suicide. Like he just got through a relationship of like 20 years. It didn't work out. I think he was just unable and unbelieving in himself that he could restart, that he could re-begin his life again. So, that was a real shocker. But again, I've been talking to Audrey this whole time with Mike. And then I tried talking to Sandy briefly, and she kept fucking interrupting me and was just really obnoxious and was like, oh yeah, I'll have you on the show sometime. And I'm wishy-washy and just like kind of, oh, come up to New York. And she was going through a divorce. I didn't want to be around her and this guy that she's divorcing in the same house. I didn't even want to be around that environment. And then she commented on one of my videos, and she was like, this was about midway through the year. So we're about June, July. So I by this point, I'd been through, multiple apartments, told my brother to fuck off, told my mother to fuck off because they're, I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're toxic. And I know what I'm capable of and what I've been through. And I'm not even about ego. Like, we're adults now, like, be the best that you can be. And especially knowing where we're headed. And then Sandy commented on one of my videos and like, hey, you should trying to tell me how to run my channel. And I was like, fuck off. Like, I'm already doing that. And she would have known if she actually watches my content all the way through. So I was like, whatever, get lost. And then that hurt my friend Mike's feelings because she was like his doomer mommy, and that hurt his feelings. And so he was like, he sent me an email message or text message, breaking up with me basically. I can't do this. We're not gonna, like, you didn't even like accept to talk to me first. Maybe it might have been like erratic behavior. Maybe, that's what puts people off. But it's like, no, either you're with me, I'm totally cool. Just don't be a dumbass. Don't be a dumbass and say stupid shit to me. Think before you speak. But it's with people like this, everybody, emotions first. Clearly, I've exhibited this during the video. Emotions can rattle you. So he was like, I told her, like, screw off. And he was like, okay, then this deal's done. Like, we're not doing it. So I'd also talked with another Mike in California, completely separate. And I'm glad I didn't move there. He's also like 62 or something in divorce with the daughter. And for whatever reason, we talked for like a month or two. And he was like the coolest dude on the planet. I think he's an Aries. And coolest, very cool. And then something happened. And then he just like, again, sent me a text message. It was like, we're not doing this. I think you're, what you said to them. And and previously another one of my older friends, Tex, like I had known him for years from Texas, couldn't believe the climate emergency. He couldn't accept it. He was like, yeah, and he was, no, it'll be fine. It's like, no, dude, you understand, we're a freight train going full speed off the fucking cliff. And then more people were dying around the world and hurricanes and tornadoes. 2021 was crazy. And the more they kept happening, the more they kept denying, the more I was like, why am I even bothering? If you can't have empathy or care, and he posts nonstop on social media, like on his Facebook and Instagram, like pictures. He's kind of narcissistic, in that way. Kind of just like, not he's intentioning to be, but he's like constantly posting to get attention. He's very popular, has tons of friends. Everybody likes him. The kind of guy like that's like that. They got something, they're living too much inside. They're not really seeing what's happening out there. The true gravity of the situation. I don't know what it is about my generation that like we born into the collapse. So I've seen nothing but collapse. I've seen banks collapse, entire communities. I've just seen it. Multiple people fall off the cliff here, but I'm still friends with David, still friends with Audrey. The real ones stick around. And I'm working this whole time. The apartment lease right before Mike tells me, oh, we can't do this in California. And I've been planning on it. My lease was up in like June or July. And then I was scrambled and was like, I have nowhere. My lease was running up. He told me no. And so I had to be forced to make another decision to find another place. Luckily, this apartment community had this apartment up on a hill, which is a little bit quieter. I got some loud lesbian neighbors, and they like to stomp and party up there sometimes. Then trash truck comes. But you guys see the footage. It's very peaceful, quaint up here. I'm up on a hill. Everything's chill. And so I'm just working, and then I start, in my other apartment, actually what's happening in the world, the news program. I'm really loud, and I suck at it, And then it's getting better and better and better. And now I'm at the point where, to be honest, I'm making $300 or $400 a month extra, as a side hustle from something I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy journalism and being a messenger, being the Hermes, telling the news, spreading the word. And that's where we're at. I'm friends with David and Audrey, have a great community online. Midway through, Jeffrey committed suicide. I spent over $2,000 in bedding material just trying to learn what I basically got an education throughout all this. My sleep, my exercise and sleep is good, great. And then a couple days or a week, bad, and I'm not sleeping, can't exercise. It was just really up and down with all this stress and working every day and trying to live. I'm alone doing this. I might have some friends, but struggling through a pandemic. And so then I have a bed, it's too hard, stiff. It doesn't feel like the one in the store. I try to return it. They won't take a return. Then I sell it. Then I get another one. I order one online. I drive to IKEA. Every bed, something happened. And when in my 20s, I could sleep on, it would take me 2 days. I could sleep on concrete. I could sleep on anything. And then something happened in my 30s in my back or something. But I need comfort now. I'm very fussy and picky when it comes to beds. And it's part of my autism too. And I also put out a video in 2021 about my autism spectrum disorder, how I feel it's getting worse as I get older. When I was younger, it was much kind of like a fun experience. It's getting more difficult and uncomfortable as I got older. And so if there was any weird material in the bed, then that would make me I couldn't sleep. I would just think about, that weird bump. I consider it a health problem. It was basically a health issue that I went through in 2021, which was my sleep. My diet was fine. I was still using the commode. It was really uncomfortable. So I think I got a Japanese bed on order. It should probably come here by the end of the year, beginning of next year. I've just decided to hell with beds. They're expensive mess. They break down. Everything breaks down. But at this point, I'm just going to do like the Japanese do and just sleep on the floor. Well, I got a tatami mat and I got a futon mattress, a 4-inch on top of that. Pretty sure I'll make it work. It's a twin size. Moved on with family. A friend died. Made acquaintances, started a news program, burned a whole lot of money on beds, worked the entire year, cried a lot throughout the year, in a controlled situation, just how shitty everything was. Got vaccinated, got boosted, got a handgun. I got a revolver 2 months after I got here from the Mountain Man. You guys seen that? Went to the firing range. I was going to get a shotgun this year, but I might push that off till next. Had a lot of these bedding expenses come up. A friend died. I started a Patreon. It was just an insane year. Like I said, 2021 is in the trash can. Just a fucking doozy of a year. And 2020 led up to it. 2020 was the build up, with the virus and everything. And then 2021, just everything clean slate, figure it out. So how will 2022 go? Well, I'm in a rhythm. I found a good work pattern. I'm going to get a new apartment in July or August. You guys understand, I've moved 10 times in the past 5 years. Or 6 years. It's apartments are crazy expensive. A lot of them are poor quality. There's not affordable housing in America. There's just not the opportunity. So I'll just keep working. I'll pay off my bills, and by July or August, I might, Audrey was talking about maybe, going up there and living with her community of family and friends. Again, it gets cold and it's really busy up in Philadelphia. I'm still thinking about it. Mind you, if you got this far, I'm still thinking about it. I've gone out to the park, campgrounds here just to visit. It's beautiful. It's the natural state. It's gorgeous. It's a great excursion from Texas, and I'm so glad I left Texas as a follow-up last mark. I'm so glad I left Texas in all of its shittiness, hot, overpopulated, especially Houston. Austin's overrated, too crowded and expensive. All your tax dollars went to a fucking wall that blocks other human beings out, run by a governor who's a psychopath. I don't even know how he got there. Conservative state. Look, Texas is iconic. Everybody recognizes Texas around the world. And I have some bit of Texas in me, as in bravado, and we don't fuck around in Texas. We don't beat around the bush, let's say. In my 30s, I decided to take it a lot more chill, or kind of like semi-retirement, and then ultimately learning about abrupt climate change and completion this year, like really digesting the information of what abrupt climate change means. This year was profound. That I know where we're headed. Oh, and then COP26, last to mention, couldn't forget COP26 was that nail in the coffin. That went on this year, and we learned that we're headed for a minimum 2.4 degrees Celsius world, which is unlivable, mind you. Okay, I'm getting a little nasally for some reason for talking so long, and I want to do other things today. So let's wrap this year up. Usually life isn't this tumultuous. Usually it's, I get in a steady routine of working and vlogging and producing content, exercising, camping, being in a community. Maybe I'll go play some volleyball. Like life is pretty normal. It's just once these certain kind of bookmark chapter events happen, they're very difficult to quantify, to validate, to talk about. They're hard because it's a subjective experience. It's your experience. But what I'm telling you is from the heart, and this is my experience. I recommend all of you get a camera out and just talk about your year. Do some YouTube therapy. Thanks for watching. It's probably my longest video yet. I made headway. I'm here, and I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.